father discovered. Elicitation, obtaining information on people, procedures, or security. Test of security, attempts to breach security, access, response times. See how long it takes somebody to react to you breaching security. Acquiring supplies, gathering chemicals, weapons, or other supplies. This one in Florida had smoke grenades, I believe it was. Also, they found a gas mask later on. Not necessarily a chemical weapon, but it can be used to disorient people or to herd people in a certain direction. So he had that he was carrying with him. Suspicious persons, people who do not appear to belong in a given setting due to unusual behavior. Neighbors knew that the San Bernardino shooting suspects had been making bombs in their garage. Never said a thing to authorities. How many of you in here, if somebody next door to you was making bombs in their garage, would call us? I would hope so. I would hope everybody here would raise their hand. Okay. Trial runs. Preparatory behaviors such as practice runs or route mapping. Go back to Columbine, there's video of Dylan and Eric making trial runs throughout the school. Deploying assets, placing people and supplies into place to commit the attack. They may not bring it with them all right when it happens. They may stage it for later. Let's see. Of course, we know in Virginia we do the threat assessment teams. Virginia mandated threat assessment teams in schools. Consists of administrator, school psychologist, social worker, guidance counselor, law enforcement officer, and we meet to address student threats. Of course, workplace violence. I hope none of you are that bad off here that you're planning an act of workplace violence. All right. Shooting situations that we may see. Any of these active shooter situations could turn into a barricaded suspect. The shooter in Las Vegas had actually barricaded the doors to the hotel room. They had a problem breaching and getting to him. He had stopped shooting. They heard him finally do himself in. Hostage situations. Very easily somebody could change their mind in one of these active shooter situations and take hostages. Then we have a whole different crime that we have to start working. And of course the active shooter, where they shoot till they're either interrupted, disrupted, or they kill themselves, or they are killed. Barricaded suspect, normally a criminal suspect with known or unknown violent potential that has barricaded themselves alone in a structure and refuses to surrender. Ample time for detailed planning and negotiations. And persons are normally armed, and there may be a potential for a transition to an active shooter or a hostage situation. Again, hostage situation is similar to barricade suspect situation with the addition of innocent persons being held against their will. Provide time for detailed planning and negotiations. That's talking about on our end when we talk about the negotiations, because now we slow down, we go from an active shooter event, or we go from that barricade subject to that hostage situation. Hostage situations can develop from active shooter situations or have great potential to develop into them. Let's see here. Mentality of active shooter. Desires to kill and seriously injure without concern for their safety or threat of capture. May have intended victims and search them out. They may be being bullied by somebody. They may go after specific targets. Accepts targets of opportunity while searching for and after finding intended victims. Will continue to move throughout the building or area until stopped by law enforcement, suicide, or other intervention. As part of the lockdown procedures, we want to kind of try and, keep them from accessing certain parts of the building, accessing the classrooms. Most shooters' mentality is not to escape. The goal is to kill and injure. But like I said, last week showed that is not always the case. And there's no typical profile for active shooters. All right, I got to talk about Cho. Alright, so we're going to talk about active shooter. We're going to talk about run, hide, and fight. So, let's see here. Get to my video. Hopefully y'all can hear this.
It may feel like just another day at the office,
Y'all hear that? That's about all I got.
but occasionally, life feels more like an action
Sure.
than reality. The
Better?
authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes, bad people
Yeah,
do
it's
bad
not.
things.
Mr. Durst messed it up. He was the last one on the microphone. We'll blame him.
Please call the office. Secretary, please call the office.
Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm him. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
Huh?
Three buttons. Left is one. Or you can even just turn it down.
There, that'll work. Okay, so we're going to talk about RunHideFight. This is not what we are telling you to do, because especially on the fight part, it takes a certain mindset. But I would say to you, is from one human being to another, not deputy sheriff to teacher. You have to have the mental fortitude to want to live. You guys and gals are a lot luckier than the elementary school teachers. Because not to make a joke, but if an active shooter event occurs in an elementary school, it's going to be like herding cats. You have high school students who are young adults. I would have them armed to the teeth with chairs, fire extinguishers, anything that can be picked up and thrown if somebody breaches the threshold of that door to your classroom. The children of Sandy Hook didn't have a choice but to die in a pile. That's unfortunate. But I can tell you, from one human being to another, I want to live. And that's the mentality that you have to have, no matter what. I don't care what he's armed with. So, evacuate the building room area if possible. If you're trapped in a classroom or office, stay there and secure the door. We're not telling you to run out into where the shooting's going on. If you're in a place that you can secure, you can slide desks in front of the doors. How many of you right now have your desk more than 10 feet away from your door? I would rethink the layout of your room, because that desk can easily be pushed in front of that door to secure that door. Most doors here are inward opening, correct? They have to be pushed to get into your classroom. If you have an outward opening door, it's a little bit different. I went to one of the elementary schools here. All the chairs and desk, or the desk, because they're all one and the same, I saw them, they were leashed together in a square. To me, I would have those to where I could pick those up and I would have a heck of a pile in front of that door. Just some things to think about. If the door has no lock, attempt to block the door. That's what we're talking about. As much as you can, or place a door wedge hard under the doorway. We had talked about that years ago. If the door has a window, cover it if you can, if you're on the ground floor. Okay? Attempt to rescue others outside should only be made if it can be done without endangering the persons inside the secure area. Again, that is going to be a hard decision to make. If you have 20 students in the classroom and one student outside the classroom, and you know that that shooter is close because you can tell by the shots, I would not open the door. I am not going to risk the greater good for the one. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, in these events, and I know this is hard for some people to hear, people are more than likely going to die or be seriously injured. That stinks. It really does. But are you going to be questioned later for opening a locked, secured room and allowing 20 more students to be injured or killed? It's up to you. I guarantee you some of these high school students probably aren't going to let you as a teacher open your door. They're probably not going to let you do it. And I know that's tough to hear. But folks, until we make changes, that's the world we live in, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth. So hide. Everyone remain calm and quiet. Again, probably easier in a high school setting. You're going to have some people that are just going to totally freak out. There are going to be people screaming. There are going to be kids crying for their mother. There are going to be kids trying to get on the phone to call 911 or their parents. Lock and barricade the doors. Again, any means possible. Get out of sight of the door. Get in a closet, a restroom. I'm not really for getting in a closet, unless I'm the only person in that room. If it's me and 2 or 3 other people, we're coming up with a plan right away that if somebody breaches the threshold of that door, we're fighting till the end, with whatever means necessary. Turn off the lights. Turn your cell phones off or silence them. Be careful of the glowing screen that gives you away. You are trying to make it appear that the room is vacant. That's what you want to do. Even in these lockdown drills, and I know we've gotten on some people before, and I know it's just a drill, but I am a firm believer in you train the way that you would fight. That comes from my military background. Then it's not the time for students to be joking, giggling, laughing in the corner. When we have these drills, if you have a student that's doing that, I want to know, because I want to talk to them personally one-on-one. I have no problem doing that. And if there's a bigger issue, I'll speak with their parents. I know you are kind of limited on that. I'm not. And I've done it before. In the hallways, exit the building if there's no close exit. Or if there's a close exit, sorry. I'm adding words where they're not. If you run through a long hall to get at an exit, zigzag, don't run a straight line. Okay? Get into a room that is not already secured if you have to. Restrooms are a last resort unless it can be locked. Okay? Last resort. Most of our restrooms key lock, right? So they'll lock. But if you don't have that key, it's going to do you no good. All right? Last resort. But if that's what you got, that's what you got. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm using the restroom there, and the shooter's over there, I'm running out those doors over there. That's why you always need to be aware of where you're at in this building. You may think you know where you're at. You may think you know this building well. But I can tell you right now, once shots get started being fired, all right, your fine motor skills start going away, your logical thinking starts leaving you, you will totally forget where you are at, and you will have tunnel vision. And it's hard for some people to get out of the area they're in. So just be aware of that. There's no way to really mentally prepare for that, other than to think things over in your mind of what you would do when you're in a certain place, if something were to kick off. Large rooms. If you're in a gym or theater area and the gunman is not present, move to and exit to the external exits. If you're on lunch duty, cafeteria's full of students, shooting kicks off up here, I'm ushering everybody out those doors. We're not locking anybody down. We're getting 100 and some students out of this building at least. We're going to run down over the hill. We're going to run to 37. We are not going to run to Apple Pie Ridge Elementary School. I'm going to tell you this right now. With this new RunHideFight concept, there are several places in the county where we consider them campuses. You have a school that sits right beside one another. You have here, and you have Apple Pie Ridge. You have Gainsborough Elementary, Frederick County Middle. What else we have? We have Middlebrook and Redbud. They are going to lock down. They are not going to let you in. Same goes here. If something happens at the elementary school, and again, this is going to be hard to hear, we are locking this building down from the outside, and we are not allowing anyone in this building until we know for absolute certainty that that shooter is done. And when I say done, I mean dead. We will not compromise the lives of the people in this building for the ones outside. That's what we're telling everybody. Again, I know that's hard to hear. And we're instructing them not to run to each other's schools. Yes?
I have a question, because we used one of these facilities before we couldn't go in the building. Where does that church down there play in this, if at all? But I know like a few years back.
We had the bomb threat. Yeah, bomb threat's a little bit different. I mean, we're not locking down facilities. We don't have an active shooter. We have no driving force other than a threat of a possible bomb. A little bit different scenario. The church is going to come into play because we have it in our emergency plan here. Mr. Loving knows them well up there, has talked to them. They have opened that facility up to us. That will be a place where parents can reconnect with their children. The ones that we find, we will eventually round everybody up. We will eventually account for everyone. That's going to be a place for us to get kids back with their parents and get them home. If you're trapped with the shooter, if they're not shooting, do what they say and don't move suddenly. Don't do anything to provoke them. Fight back if the person is shooting people. Only you can draw the line on what you will or will not do to preserve your life or the lives of others. You need to make your own choice. Stay still and hope they don't shoot you, run for an exit zigzagging, or attack the shooter. That is a personal choice. Some of you may never been in a physical altercation. Some of you have never maybe put in a fight or flight situation. That's something you need to think about. Folks, if there was a straight up answer I could give you as to what you need to do in every situation, I would gladly write a book and I would give it to you. There is none. There is none. These are choices you are going to have to make. The only thing I can encourage you to do is live. That's it. By any means necessary. Again, fight or flight. The instinctive psychological response to a threatening situation, which readies one either to resist forcibly or to run away. Cute little story. On January 30th, 1835, the first assassination attempt was made on a president, Andrew Jackson. Richard Lawrence approached President Andrew Jackson as he left a funeral at the Capitol building. Lawrence pulled a gun and shot at President Jackson. However, the gun misfired. A furious 67-year-old Jackson confronted his attacker, clubbing Lawrence several times with his walking cane. He didn't run, didn't have no Secret Service. He went to work on him with his cane. Gun, cane. I know the gun from 1835 is a little bit different than what we have now, but it's still that same concept. It's that same principle. It's that fight or flight. Contacting emergency personnel. Of course, 911, that's going to be flooded. I can guarantee you. You are probably going to have issues even getting out on your cell phone. Because the cell towers in this area will not be capable of handling the mass amount of calls that are going to come into our 911 center. It's just not going to happen. So the 662-6162 is our non-emergency line. You can call that. Here's what you need to report. Your specific location. Number of people at your specific location. Any injuries. You don't have to be a doctor. Gunshot wound to the leg, possible sprained ankle, just that stuff. That gives us an idea when we start triaging people and we start clearing rooms, whose room do we need to go to first to start getting injured out? Because once the shooter's put down, or has put himself down, or is no longer a threat, that's going to be the next step, is for us to get in here, start clearing rooms, and start triaging people and moving them out. Shooter information, location, number of shooters, race, gender, clothing, color, style, and style. Physical features, type of weapon, backpack. Have you heard any explosions suffered from the gunshots? Look, I'm telling you right now, don't stand in the hallway and go, what's he look like? All right, don't, that's a lot to comprehend. You're not going to, I'm telling you right now, if somebody's shooting at me and I've been through years of training, I'm not going to remember all that. We've had officers involved in shootings that couldn't tell you what the person was wearing 20 minutes after it occurred. It takes days for some of that stuff to come back. Get what you can. That's all we ask for. We have access in our dispatch center to access the cameras in these schools. We will more than likely be able to find them if it is still actively going on. So hopefully we'll be able to see it. So the Frederick County Sheriff's Office role, our goal is to buy us time to get to the incident. Look, I'm not here every day. Some days I'm not here half a day. There's a lot of training going on. All right, there are things there are other responsibilities I have to go to or go take care of. Other SROs, Travis Mitchell's in the back room. He just walked in. He can tell you the same thing. They're inundating us with all kinds of stuff. We're getting ready to do another active shooter training in March. I will be going every Wednesday as an instructor, because we have to run our people through these scenarios so that their training can respond. Buy us time. We will get here. We will be here. The Frederick County deputies are trained to deal with the situation. The Sheriff's Office has been trained in the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training, the ALERT program. I have been through several of their trainers. I am one of their trainers. I can go anywhere in the country and train if they need me to have officers and agencies respond to active shooter events. It's simply something that we learned, that when you have one of these events, multiple agencies, again, outside agencies are going to respond. You're going to have Winchester PD, the Virginia State Police. We're going to have guys of ours that haven't been on the road for several years. You're probably going to have federal agents from the field office here in Winchester from the FBI. You're going to have everybody showing up. So the standard across the nation is this ALERT program. They've simplified it down to where if I show up and 3 Winchester City officers show up and they're using the same program, we can all work to clear or take care of the threat as quickly as possible. And that's what we're teaching our deputies. We do it every year. The deputy's primary objective will be to confront the shooter and neutralize the threat. We are not there to take care of the injured. Believe me, that is a hard thing for us. Some of this training I went through, they actually had college students come out, depending on where the training took place. They did what we call moulaged them up. They actually put fake injury on them, and they played the part. And it's hard to not want to stop and help somebody. But our driving force when we initially get there is going to be to stop that dying. Stop the killing. We will then come back and stop the dying. We will help fire and EMS with taking care of the injured. A lot of people have asked me on deputies' uniforms now. You see these light brown packs with TQ on them. That's a tourniquet. When I started law enforcement 18 years ago, the only tourniquet I'd ever learned about was in the military. Now all our deputies, most police agencies across the nation are carrying these. to stop bleeding. We never used to do that, but again, that goes back to the world we live in now, and it's unfortunate. We will get there as soon as we can to help. Again, our goal is to locate, contain, and neutralize the threat. Everyone in the building may be considered a suspect. Do what we tell you to do. If we tell you to put your hands on your head and walk towards us, that's what you need to do. Do not run towards us. I know that's going to be hard to control too. Our formations when we move through a building are meant to deflect large crowds, but still when we get overwhelmed with students, staff members, it's hard to control. Try to remain calm. We should be a calming presence even though we have our weapons drawn. They're probably going to seem like they're pointed at you, because they will be. Okay, until we know that you are not a threat. We are going to treat everybody we encounter as a threat until we deem them otherwise. So that's why you need to keep your hands visible and respond to our commands. Deputies may engage anyone that is armed or moves on them in what can be perceived as an aggressive manner. Listen, we are human beings. This is going to be a high-stress situation if it ever happens. Some of us are going to have tunnel vision. All right, so you need to just remember to do your part. That's not just here, folks. If you're in a public setting and something happens, this could happen anywhere. We saw what happened in Vegas. Okay? These are just tips for you all so that you don't get hurt yourself. If you're near the threat when the deputy enters, drop to the floor in a prone position and stay there with your hands visible until the deputy commands you to get up. Why? Because if you drop to the floor, he doesn't, he's an open target. He will be easier to take out. Remember, deputies are again entering a chaotic scene with conflicting information. We did a drill over at Admiral Byrd. Who was in on that? CopSync had and this was a training exercise. CopSync had so many false messages on it. Shooter with a shotgun outside a room such and such. That was never true. It was ridiculous. We are going to be inundated with information that we're trying to process as deputies are arriving and even as they're entering the building. That's why if you're calling us, our dispatch, you need to give as specific information as you can. So injured persons, again, initial responding deputies will not treat the injured or begin evacuation until the threat is neutralized. First and foremost, that's our job. You will need to explain this to others in an attempt to calm them. You're going to have students that are possibly injured. You're going to have to reassure them, as I'm reassuring you now. We will come back to them. We will not leave you. We will come back and treat you. Once the threat is neutralized, deputies will begin treatment and evacuation. The building will have to be cleared and declared safe. Evacuation is not going to happen in a matter of minutes. It's going to happen in a matter of hours. The drill went kind of fast. We didn't have the number of students that would have actually been in the building and the rooms that would have been occupied. If somebody has to urinate, you're going to have to come up with a clever way other than send them to the restroom, because they're not going. Remain in secure areas until instructed otherwise. You may be searched. Leave your personal belongings. Even if we come to clear you out of your room, leave it. What we are telling you though is you keep attendance and stuff. Grab that Chromebook. If you have it on there, we're going to tell you to bring that. Pocketbooks. We're not worried about that. Workout bag. That stuff can be replaced. You can't. Leave it. You can get it later, I assure you. You may be searched. You will be escorted out of the building by law enforcement personnel. Have you seen the video out of Florida? They pretty much set up what we call cordon off areas. They had law enforcement officers within eyesight of each other. They were directing people to go to certain places with their weapons drawn. That would happen here too. We're not just going to let you go. We're not going to open the front door and say, go that way. And remember that this building, if it happens here, is now going to become a major crime scene. That's why we're telling you not to pick things up and remove them out of this crime scene. How insignificant you think it may be something very significant for us. It may be part of this crime scene. It may be something we need to see where it's at. Take ownership and make sure your location is safe. Be aware of your surroundings. Report suspicious behavior or activity to the Frederick County Sheriff's Office immediately. I had a teacher that brought a young lady to me yesterday. I investigated that. I was out till 5 o'clock yesterday. Not a problem. But finally, the gentleman I was looking for, I didn't find him yesterday. He called me right before you called me to your office and said, look, I made a boneheaded mistake. He took a picture of himself with it, if come to find it's an airsoft rifle, and a copy of a nice misdemeanor warrant he received from the city of Winchester a couple weeks ago, trying to play like he was a thug on Instagram. Talking about y'all don't live my life and all this stuff. But somebody asked him, school shooter? Question mark. 3 laughing face emojis. Which upsets some people, understandably. So I was instructed to go out and find him and find out what his problem was. He called me and admittedly said, I took the picture down. I was being stupid. I wanted to look tough. I said, how tough you feel now? Not very. Okay. So those are the things that we're dealing with. Some other safety awareness, planning, and practice. Our lockdown drills here. I'm hoping, and we're talking about, we have always done lockdown drills where the administrators come down and then lock you out of your room. In a real situation, that's not going to happen. Again, it's train as you fight. We now have a fully staffed SRO division. We're going to start getting with the schools, maybe not this year, but next year definitely. And when we do a lockdown drill at individual schools, we will be there. We will be the only ones in the hallway. If you get caught in the hallway with us, you will not get to lock down and say, oops, sorry. We will escort you to the office and you can explain to your administrators why you were out in the hallway. I'm trying to treat you like kids, but we have seen it in several schools where people don't take this stuff seriously. To me, those days are over. And we really want you all to realize that we take it, as a sheriff's office, we take it very seriously. We want you to take it seriously. That way your students will respond to you if, unfortunately, we have an event inside one of these buildings. And that's what we're looking for. All right, I've got one more video that I want to show. And the reason I want to show it is because this is talking about, I can't remember. Blow the speaker out. This was taken from a school out in Seattle. This is talking about fight or flight. This shows a perfect example. This distraught young man with a shotgun comes in and shoots a female. Another student with pepper spray sprays him. Now I know he had pepper spray. Distracts him enough and then goes hands-on with this subject after he's already shot somebody. I don't think this has sound, does it, Travis? Did you see the shotgun? I think you're going to see her walk out here in just a minute. He actually shoots her, and all she doesn't go down immediately. It's not like in the movies. People don't fly 10 feet back. Kinetic energy doesn't work that way. She takes a shot, kind of wanders off, and then he's wandering around. I think this is her. He levels the gun, shoots her. She stands there for a second. It's another example. You can survive. If you have the mentality of a sheep that wants to lay down in a corner and die, then that's what's going to happen to you. You can survive a gunshot wound of that magnitude. It's a mindset. You see the guy comes out, pepper sprays him. I think he actually took the shotgun away from him. Yeah. Now he's got him in a... I think he's choking him out. That right there is a perfect example of fight or flight. That gentleman made a choice to own where he was and take control. Again, I'm not telling you that's what you need to do. That is a mental... You have to be mentally prepared. Physical has nothing to do with it. I've seen the smallest people accomplish the greatest physical feats only because their mind was in it. It wasn't because they were physically apt to it. It's because what they thought in their mind that they could do, they did it. You cannot have the mindset, it'll never happen here. Now, I'm not trying to scare you that every kid in here is going to be a school shooter. You all have been trained. You know what to look for. Okay? I will look into it if you send it my way, or another deputy will. That's what we are here for. Alright, so, not bad, 45 minutes or so. Now I'm going to leave it open to questions, because I know some people's got some. Yes, ma'am.
So if we were close to a door, or maybe even already outside,
Yes.
where would we run to?
That is a decision that you are going to have to make.
Okay.
Because if you think about all 20-some exits on this building, where do you go? I'm going as far away from this building as I can. And again, it goes back to, we're going to run away from this building as far and as fast as we can, and we will account for you later. With high school students, I'm not so much that some of them run off by themselves, honestly. Don't keep yourself close to this building trying to get ducks in a row to get them out of here in a straight line. If they run, let them run. Just tell them, don't run back this way. Not making a joke, but seriously, because you wouldn't believe how many would probably run around and try and come back in the front doors if you were down back. You know the mentality we're dealing with some of them. They would think it'd be safer up top because it's going on downstairs. Somebody else had their hand up.
I'm stretching.
Yes.
So maybe I've been telling my students wrong, but when you do have the lockdowns, I've never really said you need to run, like I have an opportunity in my area to get out easily and run, but I've never told my students, okay, the first thing we're gonna do in these lockdowns, we're gonna get out of here. We always just barricade and hide and try to stay quiet. Are we supposed to be telling them, this is what you do, you run as fast as you can?
Listen, I will tell you this. If I am in a place that I know that I think that I can secure, and I'm locked down, where are you at? In the ag department? If there's something happening here, and you can get your students out, take them. I'm not telling you that if it's happening outside your room and the shooters, and you're up here and the shooter's walking that way to go like, everybody come on and sneak out the front. No, lock it down. But if it's happening on one end of the building, and somehow, how are you going to find out? Probably an announcement. Are you going to know exactly where it's happening? No, because there will probably be an announcement or something come over Cop Sync. Okay? So, yeah, well, and you're going to get talked to about Cop Sync here in a little bit and what to do and on those accidental ones. We just had one in Millbrook today, too. So, that's something we're still working on. Cop Sync is new to everybody. Yes, Gary?
Are we still to disregard anything that comes over the intercom?
Yes. If, in a real life situation, and this is going to go for those lockdown drills, you are going to lock down, and we will come around and unlock you.
Deputy Hockman?
Yes.
Talk about a fire drill during a lockdown drill or a event.
Disregard. Unless your room's on fire and you need to go. And I say that, really. Honestly, folks, how many schools have burned down and children been killed in them from a fire in the last 15, 20 years? Or you can, as far as you can think back. The only school that I know that took major damage from a fire, Mr. Loving was going there. He probably said it.
They never caught me.
That was the old Strasburg Middle School, or was it the high school then?
That was middle school. Last
Middle
day of
school on
school.
High Street in Strasburg burned one whole wing down, but no students were in the building. Of course, that building was built in what, 18?
Yeah. It was the
So,
last day of school too.
yeah,
That really,
coincidental. Yes.
The kids have their drivers, they run to the, tell them not to run to the parking lot.
Don't go to the parking lot. Run. They can get their, that goes back to belongings. Get those later. Because what's going to happen, some frantic kid's going to go out here and have a crash right in front of the gate. Then you're going to have about 50 students out here trying to get out in their vehicles with no place to go. Now we have another target-rich environment outside this building. Tell them to run. Stay away from their cars. Go. If you're in high school and you're not physically fit enough to run at least a mile away from this school, something wrong with you. Yes.
We are told down in the cafeteria to go into our back storage and that's the whole, there's something you can down
Listen,
and leave
then-
or what?
Okay, yeah, no, if you want to go into your back storage room, or
That's what we're told.
we are not telling you that you have to run, hide, fight. These are options. That's all this is. If you have the ability and you make a conscious decision, own it, do it, run. If you lock down, if you hide, own that space. That is now yours. You have to dig down deep.
Well, then what's the purpose of you coming to let us out if we're not there? I mean, how are you gonna know where we're at?
We're going to unlock every door and we're going to clear every part of this building to ensure that there's no secondary shooter. We have not seen that yet in some of these active shooter cases, but we play it like that. We don't just go in, bang, guy goes down, or come upon somebody laying there with 2 or 3 guns that was doing the shooting and go, well, shooter's done. We're going to clear every nook, cranny, roof space, everything. That's what's going to take so long about the lockdown. If you are locked down, you are going to be there for hours. Yes?
How do you know, like, if we're in the cafeteria and the shooting starts up here in the library? We can't hear it, we don't know, like, how are we informed that?
So here's what we're planning on doing.
Can you repeat the question?
How do you know if the shooting's happening up here? If you're in the cafeteria, how do you know where the shooting's happening? How are you going to hear it? Depending on the caliber of weapon, you may not hear it. All those who are up for it, we are going to offer during one of your professional development days when you are here at the school, we have AR-15s that we can shoot blanks out of without the muzzle brake that do sound exactly like a live round going through them. You can go in your classrooms, we will fire them off in the hallways just so you get that, what it sounds like. I know there are some people that are like, that is part of mental preparedness, folks. I would take the opportunity if somebody offered it.
Do we have a drill like that with that?
Well, we did the
Not with
active.
students, just faculty.
We had that active shooter drill over at Admiral Byrd. We are planning on putting another one of those together, correct, Travis? Maybe not in the very near future, but in the near future. Folks, I would take every opportunity. I would make myself available to be there. Again, that goes back to your preparedness. Yes, there will not be students, and some of you will play the role as a student. I would take every opportunity you are given to attend one of those drills. I can assure you, we will not do anything to hurt you. We are only trying to help you. That is why we do them, to prepare. Yes, Mr. Gross.
Can you
clarify for the staff that when we do a lockdown drill next time?
Yes.
not
Don't run. The scenario is I have no place to run to. I have to lock down. Okay? During next drills, we have to lock down. Okay? Could you imagine if you took your students and blasted down off of this hill? Yes, ma'am.
So are we going to be telling, or someone is going to be telling our students, don't run to the parking lot, don't, some of the things that you said today are things like I've not even thought of, or whatever. How are our students going to know? Are we going to be telling them this? I mean, I have personally told my teachers where my room is, yeah, we're going to try to get out at 7. Short run to the exit door, because I'm close, but I know other people aren't. So, but, you know, what are we supposed to be telling them, or who's gonna tell them?
Well,
What are we gonna tell them?
if we can try to have some kind of class put together for students, a presentation, that would be great. What I might start doing is hinting on it next year. We have our class presentations at the beginning of the year. That might be something that I can include in that talk. And I know that most of them, we do the 9th graders, but we also do, you know, the 10th, 11th, 12th graders. So that could be something I could reiterate to them. Just give them some tips. Okay? You know, if it comes up in discussion in your class for some reason, I know some students ask, sometimes they get on the topic, those are things that you can tell them too. Relay that to them. If they have a question about it, tell them to come see me. But you're right, we do need to start, because in high school it's a little bit different than elementary and middle school. I would not want to be an elementary teacher. There's no way. I know I joke about it and talk about herding cats, but that was exactly what it would be like. I could not imagine what it would be like to have to deal with those screaming kindergartners, first graders, second graders. So, you guys, you know, take advantage of the kids that you're teaching. As far as, you know, if it comes up in discussion, be honest and upfront with them. It may be tough for some of them to hear, but they need to hear it. Any more questions?
I have one more, sorry.
Yes. No, you're good.
Are the doors ever gonna be secured downstairs where they can just walk right in?
You talking about down at the cafeteria?
And into the trailers, like they're.
Yeah, we're sitting ducks, we are sitting ducks in there.
That is an issue that has been discussed. The only other solution to that, and it's been suggested, is to fence that whole area in. That's still only limited to what it will stop. Somebody that is bound and determined to get into the school will get in here. They will crash a car through the front doors. They will crash a car through a gate. They will bust out glass. Heck, they may climb up on the roof and try and blow the lock off the door that comes into the booth at the gym.
We have seen people literally walk in, and we have room, who is that, no idea, and they go right up the stairs.
Yeah.
Let me just fill you in a little bit on the conversations that have taken place at the senior staff level in the last week or so. Went to the school board meeting this past Tuesday, and school safety and this type of thing was a big topic of discussion. The school board has asked the senior staff to expedite by all means possible, and even if there has to be some emergency funds released, getting some type of a buzz-in system as soon as possible at all the schools. Now, that doesn't solve the problem with the modulars, and there's modulars at Sharando and Ayler and here and several different places. There's discussions about whether or not a breezeway can be constructed, an entire structure at all of these places. And they've even gotten price estimates on that. However, I just had a conversation with Dr. Orndorff yesterday about how he and his team of folks in facilities are going to be visiting us very soon and taking a look at our front entrance. And he said Jameswood does pose the most significant challenge. So at least at their level, they know that they need to start addressing things right away. So, and they'll be discussing that with us almost immediately. He said he's gonna have a team of people coming to take a look at that. So, you know, it's been on my mind. I know it's on your all's mind. And the best thing we can do is remain vigilant. You see somebody walk in the building, we have to know right away. Everybody should have one of these. We should be wearing our badges all the time. I know we're bad at that, but start doing it. We should be wearing our badges. Police officers are easily visible. They're always able to be identified. But if there's somebody in the building walking around and we don't know who they are, and they're not carrying one of these, and they obviously don't look like a student because they're 37, then well, some of our students maybe need, but then we need to know. Let us know, or and ask the individual, hey, you know, are you a visitor here today? Because we need to have a badge. So, and you may get some snappy response from a parent that has just left guidance and had a terrible, or the office and had a terrible conference. I'm not picking on guidance, but, or they just left the cafeteria.
All right, say Deputy Hockman, because he is a trainer and he is lots of times not here. Is there any way to implement a deputy here, somebody with a gun, when he's not here?
When he's not here, if we need a gun here as soon as we can, we're calling the police. We're calling 911. We're calling the other SROs.
You know what I mean? Because you're out of line.
It's not perfect. It's like the rest of the county. I mean, we can't cover every square inch every second of the day. I would love to be here every day and only have to worry about what goes on at Janeswood High School. I get calls from Dow J. I get calls from the elementary school down here. I get, you know, it's tough, and we're lucky now. You can ask Deputy Mitchell. Up until last year, him, I, and another SRO were the only one covering all the schools in the district.
That's crazy.
Well, it's better now. Oh, and by the way, I'd like to give a big round of applause to Deputy Mitchell. For those of you who know him, he was just elected as the Frederick County employee for March 2018. So give him a big round of applause. Yeah, that's why I did it.
All right, we were going to